We've created a really cool guessing game, but let's talk about some of the things that could go wrong when you're programming applications like this on your own. First of all, spelling, of course, is really important in any programming language, but in Java we also have to be sensitive to case. If we use the wrong case for example, one of our classes, our variable types, Java doesn't know what a little scanner is. It only knows what a capital S scanner is. The same thing for our string. Play again. If we set a lowercase s in the string, we'll wind up with a red underline. So I'll Command Z to undo that, or Control Z on a PC. The same thing goes for the capitalization in our variable names. If I said play again here, I might get a little yellow underline that one's not being used, and I would definitely get a red underline down here. And notice it doesn't even know whether this is a variable. It leaves it shaded white because it doesn't know what play again is supposed to be. In Eclipse, if you hover over the errors, you get play again cannot be resolved to a variable. That means that it doesn't know what play again is. It hasn't seen something spelled exactly play capital A again. So if I go back up to the top where I declared my play again variable, I see the error. That should be a capital A for play again. Not bad. Very cool. Some other things that can go wrong here in the application. First of all, you'll notice that we do get syntax coloring in our Eclipse editor. That helps us know when we've done something right. Numbers are shaded one way. Our operators like plus and our grouping symbols like parentheses and curly braces are shaded differently. Our types and keywords in Java are shaded one way, classes another way. So Java is helping us out. Eclipse is helping us out with our Java code by syntax highlighting correctly. If I forget a quotation mark, for example, it will change the color not just of that line but of things that come after it sometimes. But Eclipse will sometimes give us a hint what our error might be. In fact, down here in the bottom of my editor window it says string literal is not properly closed by a double quote. That's a pretty specific error, right? The string literal is not properly closed. Well, literal just means something we've typed in literally from the keyboard. So when I close that double quote with another double quote, then I've got my open and close, and I have an empty string here. If I forget that on any of my lines down here, the same thing. One other thing to watch out for in strings that can be a common error is hitting return inside a string. Let's say that I couldn't fit this on my screen, so rather than just continuing out and finishing the line this way, let's say I hit enter inside. Notice that Eclipse will automatically break that string up by closing the first part of the string, adding a plus, and then having the second part of my string. Now that's really handy because Eclipse is a really user-friendly tool. But if we ever break a quote without that, without closing the quote on this line, and I try to restart down here without all of this, it's going to give me an error as well because it'll say that the string is not properly closed. We can't make a single line of text inside a single pair of double quotes span more than one line. We have to either finish it on this same line, like I did here, and close it, or if I hit enter, I can rely on Java in Eclipse to automatically break the string apart into multiple pieces. This will still appear on one line. In fact, I can give this a run so that you can see that. Guess a number between 1 and 100. Notice it all fits on one line, even though in my code it's broken apart onto two lines. That's because this whole string will be printed and then a line feed will come after it. But if you ever try to span more than one line with a single string, you'll either get an error or you'll have to break it apart with double quotes at the end of each separate line of code. Trying to think anything else that could go wrong here. Make sure you understand the direction of your greater than and less than. That's just a simple math thing. Remember, this is always pointing toward the bigger thing. So if the guess is smaller, then the mouth is pointing over this way toward the number. So if the guess is less than the number, we say it's too low. If it's greater than the number, we were too high. And notice we didn't have to have another if statement here, because if it's not too high and it's not too low, it must be the number. One other thing just to note, we'll use this in our next program. If we wanted to do more than one thing inside each if statement or each condition here, we could have used an open and closed curly brace around each one of these lines. That way we could do a second line, something else. We could have another line of code here if we needed it. This open and closed curly brace just lets us group statements together, and then we'll tab it over, and notice that Eclipse keeps it automatically tabbed for us so that we know that these lines go together under our if statement. But if you want to do a single statement, you close it with a semicolon. If you need to do more than one statement together to finish out one line or one section of code, we do that with our curly braces. And you can use curly braces for a single line, that's all right, or you can group multiple lines together. Another piece that we do have to watch out for is our curly braces, making sure that we're pairing those up. Again, Eclipse helps us a little bit here because when we highlight one, it surrounds the other one in a little square box there. Maybe a little small on your screen, but when I'm at one curly brace, the other one gets highlighted. And we can see that we're closing the while loop and then our do loop. When you're creating your loops, you do want to use your tabbing, your indentation, to help you keep those loops together. Sometimes a loop can span several pages or several screens full, and it's nice to have it all tabbed over so that we know that we've got it together. Well, this is a very cool first app. I hope you've avoided most of the common programming problems and you're able to make this one work. We will pick these skills up and take them to a nice graphical user interface app for our desktop in the next section.